Hi everyone, I'm Juliakatsivo, and I'm really excited to be here with you today because we're going to talk about making a plan for 2018. Now, if you're like me, it's all over your Facebook, it's all over your uh, uh, other social media channels where you get to look around and all you see is different events and different workshops and different things that are taking place where people are saying, let's make that plan for 2018, be productive, make more money, and all that kind of stuff. Now, this might either motivate you to really get down and say, okay, I'm going to make a plan for my next year, or it may make you feel bogged down. You're already stressed out. You already did not meet your goals for 2017. You're already confused about your life. And the last thing you need is to feel that pressure of, if you don't have a plan for 2018, you're not going to succeed in anything. So I am not here to add on to that pressure. Let's just get that right off the bat. I am not here to add on to that pressure or to make you feel like you don't have a good plan or you don't have a plan for your life or that you're not going to succeed if you don't listen to me. None of that. What I am here to do is to hopefully push you off the ledge that makes you take massive action in 2018. And the very specific way that I'm going to show you how to do this is to use what has worked for me. And that is using workshops, seminars, and speaking on stage to get your message out and to draw in clients. And we're going to go into that a little bit because there are also people who want to do some of what I'm talking about, but they have no idea what it is that they'll talk about. They just know that they want to do this, and that's very okay. That's very fine, okay? So I'm not here to tell you that if you don't listen to me, if you don't follow what I say, if you don't do these 3 steps, you're a loser, you're not going to make it, everything that you've ever wanted is not going to happen. Lie. No. I am here to give you some information and honestly, hopefully push you off the ledge of indecision so that you can decide that 2018, I'm going to be seen more, I'm going to do more workshops, I'm going to do more seminars, I'm going to be on the stage more, I'm going to share, and I'm not going to be afraid. And even if I am afraid, I'm going to walk in afraid. So that's my goal for today. So now the first thing that I want us to know here too is I'm not speaking from the point of any expert or anything like that. I'm just speaking from the point of view of something that worked for me. When I started out 3.5 years ago, I was coming from a corporate environment where honestly, you did not do that whole networking thing or really put yourself up there if it was not part of your job description. My work usually entailed staying behind a desk or on the floor. So when I stepped out, unlike a lot of different people who already had connections, who already knew what they were stepping into, I had nothing. So my network had people who were working in corporate positions. They weren't going to help me. My network was filled with friends. We used to go drinking with them. I stopped. So, that fell aside. My network had family members. I love you to death, but like a good chunk of you are not even in Canada. So that would be problematic. This meant that I had to go out there and start from scratch. So if I could do this, then you can too. Anyone can. Anyone can honestly do anything. And that's the first part that I want us to really just understand. There is no stepping stone here. There is no you already had this advantage or that advantage. None of the above. None of the above. When we want to do this kind of work where you say, I want to take my expertise, I want to take my love, my joy, and I want to be of service to people in a meaningful way, you're pretty much going out to carve your own path. So that's the first thing is, you can look for blueprints and you can look and see who has succeeded in what, but for the most part, you are stepping up to try something different and it's going to be unique because you are unique. So that's the first thing. What I find and I know this to be true for a lot of people, is that for a really long time, people would stay on the sidelines just watching and living vicariously through others, right? So you have this need to be on a stage. You would love to give a workshop or a seminar that has to do with what you're passionate about. You would love to travel the world maybe, or even just do something really phenomenal for a group of people that you feel particularly attuned to, but you don't know where to start. You don't know how you'll get paid. You don't want to compete with others, and how can you prove yourself? And you let all those things stop you from even trying. So today we're going to sort of put an end to all that. And what we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start off with this very basic idea that there are many times in your life that you have done something brave. Now, in your opinion, it wasn't brave. It was a necessity. You had no choice. You were not thinking. In that moment, it was the right thing to do, whatever. You have instances in your life when you were brave, when you pushed against resistance, when you climbed up a hill, when you jumped over a mountain, when you did something that, was said that it could not be done. You have those instances. And I want you to start remembering those instances and bringing them to mind, because they were very specific things that triggered you to taking action. Now, one of the best things about knowing your triggers is you can consciously bring them up. You don't always have to wait for something to happen and then you react. You can always look for your triggers. You can always look for things that trigger you to perform certain actions and then bring them to mind. So for example, in 2018, you may be looking at your situation and thinking, I'm stuck in this job. I have responsibilities. I have obligations. My family would kill me if I went out and did my own thing, or what would my friends say? No matter what it is that you're thinking, I want you to remember a time when you did something that forced you to do something out of the norm, and what triggered you. Think about what triggered you, because if you go down to the underlying belief system, you can use that to your advantage. So as an example, we have people who, and this story is so common, and I'm using it because it's so common, but we have mothers and fathers who have, who were out. They were just out of money, out of work, out of anything, and they had kids. Now, they were suffering the same effects of depression that any other person would get. You feel worthless, you feel lost, you have no direction, you don't know what to do when you're hit with just sudden loss, financial or whatever the case may be. But they had to get up because of basic biological functions. Their children were crying, or their children needed to be fed, or the children needed to be clothed or changed. Something, then in that specific case, it was biological, would push them to do this. So it wasn't necessarily a love of the child at that time. Stay with me before you completely judge my statement. It wasn't necessarily a love of the child at that time that got the parent up. It was biology. And also that innate need to keep your offspring alive. It was biology. This can be used by others when they know that they're going to be losing their home, or let's say their marriage is going to fall apart. They are driven to do things, and it's biological. So what is it? The need for security, the need for stability, the need for companionship, whatever it may be, it's all tied to survival in that specific instance. So that is just one example. One of the things that drive me is, and for me it's tied to my version of survival, is the idea that if I feel stuck, then I'm sinking, then I will die. So it's very dramatic. But in my mind, I don't enjoy being in situations of which I have no control. I am completely helpless. I am completely out of options. For me, that equals death. And what I have to do in that instance, no matter how much things really are out of my control, because let's face it, life is not really up to you. What I have to do is I have to be in control of something. I have to manage something so that I have that sense of security around me. So be it managing my reactions, be it managing what I'm going to do 10 steps forward. And these are the different things that I use to push me out of situations where I potentially get stuck. And I get stuck a lot. And in those situations, I then allow that instinct that says, we got to get out of here, to kick in. So what is it for you? There are things that people do that are specific to them. Now, this is something that's intrinsic to you, so it's not like you may be really conscious about it. As far as you're concerned, you could just be doing your thing and not really thinking about it. There's something that you do. So start to get in tune with that. Now, I wanted to talk about mindset first, but what I realized is more important than mindset is this. You know, we're taught all these amazing skills by our parents, our peers, and in school. But you'll find that when it comes to life skills and survival skills, that is something that you sort of learn as you go out into the world, right? And for a lot of people, for a long time, they have very poor skills. For me, I had very poor coping skills. I had very poor life skills in some instances. And it wasn't anyone's fault. It just was that those things were not quite developed in me, or not maybe at the level that it should have been with others. So for example, I would take losses extremely hard. Actually, I would take them really personal. And it didn't matter whether a loss had something to do with me directly or indirectly, whether it was just a fact of life. It didn't matter. I would take it on as though, you know, life and God had something against me. And that was just the way I thought. Nothing to judge there. So for you, it may be something else. Now, I know some people whom they could be looking at a dead-end situation, smack, dead end, like a job that's laying off people, you're not moving up, they're gonna use you until your value is done, and then they're going to find a reason to let you go. And you can see that, and you know you deserve so much better and could do so much better, but you're still going to walk down that road. Now, for those people, that part of them that will objectively analyze a situation and make a plan for survival, it kind of just gets shut down. It really does. It gets shut down. Now, back in the day when they were younger, this worked for them. If they found themselves in an abusive situation, for example, let's say as a child, where it was very clear that they were being abused, maybe physically, emotionally, whatever the case may be, and they did not have agency, they didn't have a voice, so they were not able to go out and say to someone, you know, I'm being abused, because very likely it was the guardian of the parent who was abusing that person. And so what worked in that instance was shutting down and just going, just walking down that road for survival purposes, and also because of that that feeling of lack of agency. Now, if that skill, that coping skill, has not been looked at in the adult years and it hasn't been taken care of, then that same skill will come up anytime there's a trigger where someone sees the same situation played out. And in this example, it would be a work environment that's taking advantage of the person, and the person feels that there's no way out. Then you shut down and you keep going and you try to be good so that nothing bad happens to you. You see what I'm saying? So we need to like really go in and look at our coping skills for the different things that happen in our life. And as adults now, make conscious decisions as to how we're going to tweak them and change them. What does all this have to do with giving workshops and seminars and going on stage? Well, these are your saboteurs. These are the things that are going to get into the way of anything you desire to do in 2018, because these are the things that have been designed by you and nature to protect you from ill. So when you make a decision like, I'm going to put myself out there and do workshops, your brain and your mind, your body is like, no, we are not doing that. You see. And because you're not conscious about what it is that is stopping you or kicking in or being triggered, you will continue to make these attempts to step out, and you'll have these results that don't line up, and you will turn inward and start blaming yourself and think there is something wrong with you. When in all honesty, it's number one, a lack of information, number two, a lack of application. So I'll tell you what I mean by this. A lot of times we beat ourselves up because things that we're doing are not working. You know, things that we're attempting to do are not working. Jobs, and specifically here I'll talk about the people who are trying to do their side thing so that they can hopefully eventually go into it on a full-time basis and even be successful in it. And when things don't work and nothing is making sense, forgetting that there's only a limited amount of information that you hold, and forgetting that you only know what you know, and forgetting that you only know what you know until you know the next thing, people, we start to turn inward and we look at ourselves and we say, okay, it's me. It's me. It must be me. I'm not doing anything right, I'm not cut out for this, it's true, I'm a loser, whatever. All the old things that haven't been dealt with rise up to the occasion. And for a lot of people, that part of their mind kicks in and says, so you see, this is why we don't try these things, because they don't work. We get hurt, we lose. So let's go back and play the safe game. Let's stay dreaming. Let's keep this at the dreaming zone. And let's be wise. And being wise is not doing these things. But really, it's information and application. Okay? So one quick thing I'm going to say about information is this. One of the ways that you're going to know what's going to stop you from achieving a lot of your goals in 2018 is to think about all the wonderful, safe reasons you've given yourself for anything that you wanted to try that you did not try. Now, for a lot of people, it'll be very common things. I don't have any money. I don't have any time. I'm not young anymore. I don't run as fast. I have things to pay. I have children, I have a mortgage, I have a car loan, I have just gotten a promotion. What will my parents say? What will my friends think? Okay, so these are the things that will come up. Anytime a daring, interesting idea comes to mind, the first thing that will spew out of your mouth, whatever that is, I want you to take note of that. And so for a lot of people, it's, I don't have any money. Take note of that. At the time that you're saying these things, they make sense. They make absolute sense. And you know that they make sense because when you look at your surroundings, when you look at your life, it fits. Now, one of the things that I want us to be conscious about and to really do our own background, I mean, this is where, like, you know, I can tell you all these things. Many people can tell you all these things, but you gotta do your own stuff, right? Like, you gotta do your own reading, watching, investigations. You gotta do your own work. If you love yourself, and I know you do, you're going to really help yourself out by learning more about how your brain works, how your body is, and all of that good stuff, so that you can get yourself to a nice, healed, safe place, right? So when we say the things that we say that make absolute sense to us, what we forget is that from the time we were young, we were just absorbing the world. This is before we got to the part in our lives where we started to think for ourselves. So for the most part, we were just absorbing the world as it came to us. And there were messages that were implicitly and explicitly said that we absorbed as truth because we were just recording machines. We just went through life taking in stuff, you know. An example is this. We have a lot of people in Canada, where I am, who will go to parts of Africa, like Kenya, where I was born and raised, and they'll come to me and they'll say things like, you know, I had tears in my eyes because I saw these poor boys. They were so poor. They had no clothes. They just had shorts and barely any shoes. And they were kicking around this ball that they made of socks and plastic bags all wrapped up together. And they were kicking them around and they were smiling and they were so happy. And I just wanted to give them so much because here in Canada, I have a room full of toys. So right now we just had the holiday seasons or Christmas for Christians. A lot of people still haven't gone through their toys because they're that many. They're still unwrapping their gifts, right? And so they'll say, you know, and I have this room full of toys and here I'm visiting, you know, this African place and there are these kids and they're so happy and I just wanted to give them all these toys. This is the thing that is kind of hard to explain, but is the reality. You know, for those boys, it's more comfortable to play with your shorts and not have any shirts or anything on because of the temperatures outside. And it makes them limber and they can do what they need to do with their feet. They don't have all these other added stuff on top of them. They just want to play. And the other thing is their creativity levels are off the roof. They don't need to wait for a ball to be bought. They can just make their own balls and they make them and they know how to make them and they know how to take care of them and they know how to make them sturdy or soft for the games that they're playing. More importantly, they're happy because they're doing what they want to do, which is play with toys. And in that context, that works for them. But if we look at them from a different perspective where maybe you're used to buying toys, then it'll look like, oh, these poor boys, you know, trying to make the most of what they have. There's nothing like that. I know in one instance, I gave the example to, I have a friend and the child was born without a leg. And for me, my argument was, we can look at the child and say, oh gosh, you can't do this. This is the life that you set up for. But what does that child know? The child was born without a leg. So that child is normal in that child's world. And that child will move through that world based on how he or she was born, right? It's from a different perspective that we look at things and then bring in that form of judgment. However, if we look at things in their very singular, secluded state, so if we look at things not with that kind of context of experience, then we're able to see things differently. Now, as children, if you grew up in an environment where playing in your shorts and playing with balls outside was just the way to go, in your world, you had a happy childhood. However, if you grew up in that same instance and all you heard from your parents and maybe people around was, oh, if we had more money, you'd have a proper ball. Oh, if we had money, you wouldn't be out here with the shorts. Then in that context, you will know that you had a childhood in which there was no money and that it affected the quality of life. You will take that thought process, whatever it is, and because this is a travel, we travel in life, you're going to keep your belief systems the same and apply them to your experience. And as we go, we do this thing called bias confirmation bias, where we look for experiences to validate or refute our current belief systems. For survival's sake, we look at experiences to validate our belief systems. It keeps us safe, and it's always tied to that survival instinct. We want to stay alive. So when you have differing points of view, it shakes stability and it shakes your sense of self. And for a long time, you feel lost, and that doesn't work. It works when you see experiences that confirm what you believe and reflect back to you what you believe of the world, right? This is really important. So when you look at the things that you say, so if someone was to say, why not go out and do a workshop? And we'll get to the workshop part, but we got to do this mindset stuff first. Why not go out and do a workshop? Why not go out and start a business? The things that you picked up and held on to and experience validated for you, those are the things that will come out of your mouth. Oh, I have no money. I have no time. I have obligations. I have no experience. I have no expertise. No one will listen to me. No one will buy from me. And these are things that will sound true to you, ring true to you, because it's your belief system and it's been validated by your experience. And if someone was to challenge that, you will push back, because this threatens your sense of identity and what you believe and have believed up until that point. This is very powerful. So some of the ways that you can take care of this is this. Now, a lot of people don't like being told by others what to do or how to think. I mean, we get defensive and we look at each other like, where were you the last 15, 20, 30 years of my life? Or are you paying my bills? No, Ken, and shut up. But what we can do for ourselves is this. We can start to ask ourselves questions. First of all, make an agreement that this is a no judgment zone. You're not asking yourself questions so that you can bring up every Tom, Dick, and Harry opinion in your mind, but you can start to ask yourself questions in a nice, calm way. You might say to yourself, by the way, why did I never take up that job offer in Germany? Why did I never take that job offer? And then listen to what comes up. And it may be, oh, it was too far, it was too expensive, I had to cover my own costs. And say, okay. Did you ask anyone if they were willing to help you out? Oh no, I couldn't. There was no one to ask. Everybody's broke. Everybody has their own problems. Okay. Just ask yourself questions. And if you do that in a curious manner, in a way that invites dialogue, you start to see what you really believe about yourself in the world. And here's the good news. You can look at those belief systems, and now as an adult, you can ask yourself, is this true? Is this true? So there was a time when I adopted a belief system that nothing good would ever come out of my life. That was then. This is now. And I didn't know that. But that belief system informed all my actions. So, I would maybe strive for gold and then end up short. And I'd wonder why. And I'd think, well, it's me. It must be me. But it's through that introspective, asking yourself questions that I uncovered that belief. And I looked at it and I thought to myself, that's what I think? That nothing good will ever come out of my life? And at that point, it didn't matter where that belief system came from. We can make a study out of studying ourselves. You don't want to stay there. You want to go forward. So instead of, oh, where did that come from? How could you think that? It was just, I was mortified and I was so sad because I thought that is not true. Great things have come out of my life, and even greater things are going to come out of my life. And I believe that. And so when I look at this belief system, it's not true for me. And so I let it go. Sure enough, the next few things I tried after that were successful. And that's because my underlying belief system was rectified. You see that? A lot of times we think that we're clever and we know what's going on within us. We know what troubles us, but we're really complicated human beings. We are so complicated we have no idea. And some of the ways to find out is to find out about yourself the way you would someone that you love. When you love someone, you're constantly studying that person. You're like, oh, look at the way the mouth twitches when they're about to laugh. Or you know things about them, right? And yet you know nothing about yourself. So if you study yourself, if you're going through situations and you start to feel that rise, so sometimes I'll be having a conversation and I'll start to feel that rise within me. And I'll take a step back and I'll ask myself, what's going on here? Not judging, not trying to squelch emotions, but I'll say, what's going on here? I'm not afraid. I'll let the feelings come up, see what it is, and then let it go. A lot of times they're just unfounded fears. And if we just keep in mind that the fears are there to keep us safe, that this is just biological, this is just instinctual, this is how we've survived, this is how we'll always survive, is keeping us safe, then we know what to start doing. Because what I'm going to ask you to start doing now is complicated and it's scary. 2018, I want to see you doing more workshops, more seminars, and more stage appearances. And now I'm going to tell you why. First things, I need to plug in my electronics. Okay, so while we're doing this, thank you so much. I see all the people who've joined. I see people who've joined from Kenya, from Canada, from the US. This is really exciting. Thank you for joining and listening. If you have any questions in the meantime, ask them. I'm just gonna quickly grab a plug here. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, let's move on to stage work, right? Now, remember I said 3.5 years ago, I started out, I didn't know anybody, no network, no nothing, just my spiritual belief and a deep faith. And honestly, I was just tired of that burning desire in me that never quit, that said, let's go out. We're supposed to be doing something else. We're supposed to be doing something else. There's a lot more we're supposed to be doing. And finally, I was like, okay, let's go. Let's do this. And what did I use? So I looked at all my available tools. And this is what I decided. I was going to pick what was simplest, easiest, more efficient, would have greater impact, and would require little to just a nominal amount of effort or time from me. And this is where this comes in. Now, a lot of you have businesses, and a lot of you are great at maybe networking or talking to other people about it. But this is what is largely lacking. And this is the education piece. So if you find that you're a consumer, that is, you're always going out and you're always learning more so that you can be better, so that you're always looking for information, you're always networking and all of that good stuff, you're a consumer. What I want us to start doing is be producers. Producers create and share content. Share your expertise. Sharing your expertise is not giving away your best. It's not giving away stuff for free. It's none of that. Sharing your expertise is what is going to get you your results faster than anything else you may have tried. Okay? So when I started out, I knew, let's do the workshops, let's do the seminars, let's get on the stages, let's write the articles. These are all things that I could do. Now, maybe you can't do that. Maybe writing is not your thing. Maybe talking on camera is not your thing, or speaking on a stage is not your thing. There is something that is yours. There is something that is your thing. And it's not too small and it's not too meaningless to bring out to the table. There is something that is your thing. Now, one of the ways that you're going to know what your thing is to simply look at all the things that your friends and your family say that you do so well. You know it. As an example, one of my clients is a real estate agent, and she was also shy. So going out and meeting people is just not her cup of tea. But I mean, you have to go out and meet people. How are you going to get your clients? So what did we use? We used her love of baking. She's an awesome baker. And it sounds so cliche, doesn't it? Bake goods and treats and go over and hand them out to people. But nobody was doing it. So she did it. She baked and she went out and she used her baked goods to talk to strangers rather than just shoving postcards and hanging stuff on strangers' doors. She went around, she got into amazing conversation with people. She wowed her clients, and she just wowed anybody anywhere. And because this is something that she loved to do, this is something that she could do, this is something that she enjoyed doing, she constantly had things for people. She constantly had goodies. You know, to interact with her meant that she walked out with something that she had in her back seat, and it became her thing. Where you're having this conversation and you can see that someone's looking to see, what did you make today? What did you bring? And she always had something, and it didn't feel like work to her. Can you imagine that? She was sitting on that marketing tool. So there is something that you can do, and it may seem unrelated, it may seem pathetic, it may seem small, it may seem inconsequential, but that is your magic. Bring it out. Bring it out. Now, the one thing that I'll always advocate about workshops is this. When we go out, a lot of times you're thinking, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? Well, it's really simple. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to think about your particular line of business and what it is that you do, or what it is that you feel you may want to do. And do this exercise, and do this exercise before the new year. Please, I know it's celebration time. I shouldn't even be here. It's celebration time. You should be having fun. But this is what I want to sort of remind you. You can celebrate the New Year's, but please remember you have the rest of your life to live, right? And there's no point of being miserable for 364 days to throw up a party on the 365th or the first day of the new year and then go back to misery. If you love yourself, you're going to handle your business first. You're going to plan yourself, and then you'll know what you're celebrating. Or even celebrate knowing that, okay, I am good here in this sense. So I know I said that I will not bombard you with making a plan or how to make a plan, but I will say do this, okay? It's not enough to just listen to me and say, oh, that was great, and then walk off. Do something out of this, right? So I want you to take a paper and pen and just write down all the different things you've heard people complain about in your industry or in what you love. So I'll give you the example of the lady who bakes. Maybe when she was passing out the treats and her baked goods, what she would hear is, oh, I wish you didn't use milk, you know, like whatever the case may be. And if she's wise, she would hear a lot of it and then start to modify some of what she was doing so that she can cater to the people who are not able to take her mass products. So for you, maybe you're in, you know what, I'll take, just looking at some of the people who are on here, I'll take travel, okay? So I'll take travel. Maybe you're in travel and your job is to book people and find them the best travel destinations, that sort of thing. And what you hear constantly is, you know, I wish there was just a way that I could just click on this app that says, you know, Africa, and then country Kenya, and then budget 3,500, and then just leave it alone and let it come up and show me variations. This is just an example I've pulled out from my head. And you hear a lot of people saying that. So what you start to ask yourself is, what are they talking about? They're talking about convenience and ease. So just boil it down to what's your need? What are you craving, right? Like, what are you craving? And if you see enough of an issue or a problem being brought up, then what you do is you think about solutions for it. Now, maybe you can go ahead and create an app that resolves your client's problems. Or maybe in your years of work and experience, you found a way in which people can very conveniently and easily find what they need if they just do 1, 2, 3 things. What do? You put that together and you create a workshop. So when as a person who's in the travel industry, nobody's really showing up to your workshop if you say, please come discover the joys of traveling. We don't care. No, no one's showing up. However, if you put up a workshop that said the fastest, easiest way to book a trip in 10 minutes under budget, something like that, right? Where you're promising certain things. So you're telling me I can book a trip very easily, very conveniently, and under budget. I'd like to show up for that. And maybe it's because I'm constantly traveling, or I'm in a situation where I have little kids, an elderly person, I have many different things I have to juggle. And so I need to know what I can do so that I can still travel, that I can travel within a budget or even under budget way better, and that I can do this easily and conveniently, because maybe the hustle of booking for that travel just means that I can't be bothered. Now, when you have a workshop like that, where you're talking about the things that people say, oh, you're talking about me, and you offer solutions, you're educating people, they leave much better, and they're more than likely to come to you for return business. So you see what I mean? And this applies for anything. Honestly, you could own a funeral home, and you can still put together a workshop. Think about all the things that people say over the years or complain, or all the things you wish people knew. Because as you do what you're doing, after a while, you have processes, and you start to see what makes things more efficient or effective or cost effective. So if you had a workshop and it's still sticking with a funeral home, and I'm choosing really unconventional industries and work environments so that you can see that this is applicable to anybody and anything, not just speakers and coaches, who are my favorite people in the world, but anybody can be turned into this. So for the funeral home, you're not going to have a workshop that says 10 things to do before you die, or how to prepare your will is important. Yeah, people would show up for that. So maybe what you could do is you could team up with lawyers, and you could team up with financial advisors, get together and do a workshop that shows people how to prepare their will, and just debunk, debunk thoughts that, if I prepare my will, it means I'm going to die. No, you're just getting ready. You're just making sure that you're set. So maybe for the funeral home, you would say, 3 ways to, I don't know, just something that you see that people commonly ask, and that you can easily put it together so that you can put a workshop. So the idea here is education. A lot of people keep their expertise to themselves, and the only people they share it with are their family members and their close friends, because they're close. But that's not helping anybody. If you're not confident about going out and speaking and whatnot, this is why I need you to remind yourself that it's okay to feel safe, and it's okay to want to appear a certain way because you want to be accepted. So, looking clumsy or looking like you're not a great speaker, or maybe you have a stutter, or maybe English is not your first language, and so, phonetics, you have your tongue rolls around some words in a different way. Again, please remember that everything that we say is going to sound logical, normal, and will make sense to us. But if we really, really dig down, we're going to see that these are just unfounded fears, and they're based in founded beliefs. A lot of us, we are afraid of the fear of judgment. And maybe it's because we grew up in societies or cultures in which you are to appear a certain way because of the way it reflected on your family, the way it reflected on your society. So in that sense, going out and doing a workshop when you're sweating and you have lost complete, bodily functions, that may not be something that you want to set yourself up for. And yet that may be the very thing that pushes your career to new heights. And even for those who are in their work environment. So I know I'm talking to entrepreneurs, but if you have full-time jobs, and a lot of my people do, actually a lot of my people are like lawyers, engineers, big positions, managers. It's just that they want to start their own thing and hopefully eventually go into that. I want you within your work environment to look for different training opportunities. Now, please don't use excuses. Don't look at your job position and say something like, oh, I'm just a cleaner, they'll never let me do anything like that. No, man, there's always something you can do. There are always things that you hear. There are always questions that are asked. In your conversations with people or things that you've noticed, there's always something that you know that you can bring of value to your supervisors, the organization, or to people, and say, can I do a workshop? And this is what I'm going to talk about. So the idea here is sharing your expertise, of which you have. you have tons of it. Now, a lot of people will say, okay, but who will show up? Or where do I start? Again, let's go back to what I said in the very beginning. A lot of the questions you ask, which seem normal, which make sense, and which are validated by your experience, are simply hidden fears. And you are not to address all of them. You will lose. Your fears have been there for a long time. You inherited them. They're there to keep you safe, and so that you can survive, and so that the species can go on, and so that nothing is wrong. They're there to keep you safe. And also, when you talk back to your fears, you're talking to something that has been cultivating itself within you for a long time. Suddenly you have awareness. Oh, it has an answer for everything that you say. No. What you do with your fears is you just stand there and let them rise up, see what it is, feel it, believe you me, it will go. It will go. That's something that we take for granted. We assume that our feelings are so powerful that if we stand there and face them, they'll just come in our face and do what? Do what? Do what? Nothing. 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 If you feel something rise within you, let it. Let it. Just let it. Just focus on your breathing. Focus on letting that thought or that feeling come up. See what it is and leave it alone. For a long time and for a lot of people, you're going to have to do this a lot over specific fears so that they completely go away. One of those things is feeling worthless, because for whatever reason, something happened when you were young, or some things happened, or some things were said, it doesn't matter, but you may have picked up the belief that you're worthless. So anytime you come up against a situation like this where you say, yep, I want to do more workshops in 2018, and then the thought immediately comes up and say what? Who do you think you are? The idea might be, yeah, you're right, and to push back. Instead, just leave it alone. Don't answer back, just leave it alone. Eventually, you're going to have other thoughts and other belief systems based on your continuing experiences that you can then use to refute. Or if you have a really strong spiritual belief system, you can take what you believe and use that to refute. But in the beginning, don't fight it. Don't. You're going to lose. You let those thoughts come up. If they've been there for a very long time, if they're deeply embedded, if you've been in a toxic situation for a really long time or currently are, then you're going to have to go through this over and over and over again until one day you'll realize that those thoughts are not coming up, that you're done. Yay! That you don't believe that anymore. Until then, allow. So that's the name of the game. Now, why are we doing workshops? Well, and the seminars, like I mentioned, it's a great way to share your expertise, and it also solves problems. So I'll tell you the two things that people look for in any kind of business. And I want you to use yourself as an example. I want you to think about your own shopping experience, or why you use the service providers that you use. Now, if you're in a country like Canada, which is half owned by the government, and you don't have a choice over specific services, or if you're in a country like I have various African countries here, you may not have a choice over the specific service that you use. I want you to think about something in which you do have a choice, like where maybe you buy things, or maybe where you get your hair fixed, or maybe where you go for your supplies. So this is where I'm going with this, is two things. The first thing is you get your results, and the second thing is you get an awesome experience. So those are the two things that businesses, the really successful ones, in my studies and in what I've been able to see and experience myself as a consumer, and also on the back end, working on the customer front for the different corporations, including the Canadian federal government, and with my clients, is this. Number one, are you solving a problem? Number two, are you giving a great experience? If you focus on those two things, then you will be in business, and you will be in business for a long time. Now, having a great experience can be subdivided into many other things, right? Like, so are you keeping up with technology? Are you keeping up with your clients' needs and demands? A lot of times I see really great businesses just close up shop because the owners have insisted on what they're doing and the way they're going, because they have been too afraid to try other things. And again, your excuses will always sound logical, they will always sound true, and they'll be validated by your experience. But if you allow, you will see that they are fears. Now deal with the fears. And that will allow room for innovation. You want to be innovative, you want to give your people what they want, and you want to give it to them the way they want it. If you keep hearing different things from people saying that they want stuff served a certain way, get into the business of looking to see if you can do that for them, or partner up with someone who can do that for them. You want to grow, you want to flourish, collaboration is the word. If you do things alone, yeah, you're going to, probably achieve a lot, but you're not going to achieve as much as if you bring in things together. One of the things that I do is I collaborate with different coaches in different areas. And if I see that one of my clients is experiencing, let's say, a mindset problem, I can either go ahead and do that work with my client, or I can get a coach who's really, really well established in mindset to come in and do a session with my client. You see that? And it's not because, and I don't have those fears of, oh, now my client will think that this person is so awesome and run off with them. I don't care. I want you to get your results. I want you to get what you need. So start looking at what you can do in terms of that and give them a great experience. Now, on the other part, which was solving the problem, this is where, when you're sharing your expertise through workshops and seminars, you get to get a lot of information that will actually put you at the top of your game, because you're interacting with people, and those very people will tell you what their issues are. They'll tell you what their problems are. They'll tell you what they can't wrap their minds around, what they're losing sleep over, what they're willing to pay for. They will tell you. And then at that time, you can then create something that is a direct solution for their problems. So, I mean, there are no downsides to workshops or seminars or anything like that. Some of the things that people have said that will come up is, content, I don't want to look foolish, nobody's going to show up. And for that, this is what I'm going to say. Now, unless you already have an established name, or you're going under an established name, yeah, you're pretty much going to have to work ground up. So it would be awesome if your first workshop or seminar, you went out and you got 100 people to show up. That's a dream. But one of the things that I want you to appreciate is this. You're going to learn things, building things from the ground up, that you're not going to get with instant success. You're going to learn where are the cheapest places to run workshops, or what are the cheapest software. You're going to get really comfortable with talking to one person or two people, and then 40, and then maybe 8, and then 100. You're going to learn how to interact with people on a gradual basis, rather than just have hundreds of people and flop the first time and then that's it. Instead, you're going to learn your own rhythm. You're going to learn sequence. You're going to learn how to do things that feel intuitive with you and that work with your people. And you're going to learn and grow as you keep going. So that's the benefit of starting from the ground up and not being worried about whether people are showing up or not. As long as you're persistent, as long as you're consistent, and as long as you are giving people what they need, you will always, always have at least one person who's interested in what you have to say or do. You also need to do your work. We have a lot of people with great opportunity to do workshops and seminars, and they just go and they speak in this monotone, and they use all these technical language, and they bring in books and industry Bibles and things that just put their audience to sleep. You obviously haven't done your work in the back end. Practice. Go have real candid conversations with other speakers and performers. Work on your intonation. Look at your information and then ask if you have like a 4-year-old, or ask anybody that you know who's a child, can you understand this? And then make your information so that a child can understand it. And then you've got a winner. We assume that people will catch on to what you're saying, or that people will be on top of it. We assume that if I dummy down or if I speak simply, I'll not be taken seriously. I'll not be considered an expert. That's not true. People want to understand, and they're not going to give you their time and their patience to sit down and try and decipher, what did he say? What did she mean? What the heck is this chart? How does this solve my problem? I'm still going home with the same problem. You want to give information that someone will remember. And I'll tell you one mark that you're looking for. Don't look for someone to remember who you are, or your name, or your face. You want people to remember what you said. A lot of times I'll have people talk to me and they'll say, oh, I was listening to this person and this is what she said. And in my head, I'll think, those are my exact words, but hey, more power to you. You remember what I said, but you don't remember my name or face. I love it. And I've done the same thing. I've gone through material, I've gone through books, I've gone through coaches, I've gone through other experts, and I have gotten what they've said and embodied it, but I can't remember their names, and half of them I don't remember their faces and the locations, none of that. So you want your information to be memorable so that people can immediately use it. Hi there, I see you, and thank you so much for joining. Now, a lot of this has been about the mindset, and a lot of it has been about really being aware about your fears. And I've given you some of the positive stuff about workshops and seminars. With that said, you may still be wondering exactly how you're supposed to be doing this. Now, there is a way that you structure your workshops. There is a way that you structure your workshops so that you're giving value to the people who would be most interested, and you're also allowing them an opportunity to speak with you further, or to even work with you on what it is that you do. So there's a way that you can do this, and for that it would take too long. You know, I've already taken out 50 minutes of your time, and I do appreciate you staying with me. It would take too long to sit here and take you through the structure for the workshops, what you will say, you know, the titles, what kind of solutions that you bring forth, and focusing only on the outcome. How do you focus on outcome? How do you make a promise that you can keep to your workshop recipients? And then how to automate your processes. Because the other thing you want to do is this. Like, remember in the beginning I mentioned that I was always looking for things where I don't get to repeat myself too much. I don't get to work too hard. It just takes the fun and the joy out of everything. So there is a way that you can automate your workshop so that you have your steady leads coming in, people who are drawn in because of your workshop title and you know, the body of what it is that you're presenting. Tons of ways that you can advertise this for free. Now, a lot of people will do this thing where they have their workshop and then they're going to pay Facebook ads. Now, there are pros to that, but the truth is this. If you look at how much you pay Facebook ads over time, it's quite a bit of money that if you took it in one chunk and did one amazing thing with it, you probably would have gotten better results. But there's actually ways that you can inexpensively advertise what it is that your workshop is about, and really rely on that before you go spending money. So before you go throwing money at stuff, what I would suggest is just hang on with me, and I'll give you this opportunity, is really look at what you can do inexpensively, what you can do to just automate the process so that people sign up, they get your workshop information. There's an easy way for them to link up with you later on, and then you take it from there. You don't want to lose out, right? Like you put on this workshop, you put on this great content, whether 1 people, 2 people show up, 10 people, 100, you still want to make it worth your while. The other thing that you want to know too is how to convert. So, you know, with the workshops that you're doing, I did say that the idea here is to share your expertise, but you do have a call to action. You need to CTA, you need to have something that people are going to be doing after that. Now, a lot of people in the beginning will go for that inspirational route where they're going to say something like, so go out there, live your life, follow your dreams. I hope I've inspired you to go out there and do something great. That's awesome. But really, that doesn't compute to any task in our minds, right? You're just giving us a very vague, wonderful sounding thing, but really that's a cop-out. That's a cop-out, because a lot of times we're afraid of being judged. We're afraid of giving great information, of giving great value, and then asking for something in return. You're afraid of being judged as being greedy, as being salesy, as being pushy, as maybe even being judged for the content that you presented. It wasn't that great, and how dare you? Many different things. Like I said at the very beginning, so if there's anything I would ask you to do is to just really go through the beginning of this and just really listen to what I said, is let those thoughts and belief systems and ideas come up, look at them, let them go. It's all unfounded. Everything that we feel that keeps us safe is to keep us alive. And when I say do workshops, go on stages, do seminars, all those things threaten stability, and they threaten survival. It's like you're telling me to go up there and put myself under fire. Well, yeah, you can look at it that way, or you can simply look at it as the fastest way to win the war. So in this particular case, when you're thinking about the offer and what to say and how to say it, the best way to do this is to tie it to what your client needs or what your potential client needs. Now, your workshop, remember I said the material that you can use is things that you've heard frequently, things that you've observed, things that irk you and you wish that people would have a great understanding of. You're giving them something that they can immediately use, something that will really just help their lives, right? And then for the people you want to work with, the people who are in your direct market, the people who need your help, what you're going to do is you're going to give them specific help that's attached to the workshop. So as an example, if you're talking to people about, like, remember the example I said about the funeral home and how you can get in touch with lawyers and with financial advisors and do a workshop around estate planning, around writing your will or things to include in your will and that sort of stuff. At that moment, then what you can do is you can say, you know, here's my contact information. Right now, I have a very amazing rate for writing out your will. And this is if you have assets over $1 million, or if you have a family and you want to make sure they're all covered, whatever the case may be, whatever your target market is, you want to then offer that specific thing. A lot of people won't do that because they're afraid of being judged at that point. And so they'll just kind of like just wrap up everything with this awesome, inspiring quote, you know, go out, live your dream. I hope I've helped you. What? And then kind of just sit there and hope someone will come along and say something. Nope. Nope. You know, it's if you go into a supermarket, or if you go into a store and you see goods there, what do you see? You see price tags on them, right? You don't see bars of soap, and then the idea is that you take the bar of soap and then go to the cashier on the way out and say, can I pay for this? You see price tags on them. You're going in there to get something. Always assume that when people are coming to you, they're coming because of the solution that you're going to give them. And if you can be of further service to them, of which you're in the business of being of service to solve problems and to give an amazing experience, you will then offer them the next opportunities, right? There's a lot of work that can be done around that in terms of mindset. It ties down to worthiness, and it turns down to the uncomfortable thing called sales. And if you think about sales as something in which the more you do it, the more you get ease, the more you hear your voice, the more you know your tone, the more you just really understand it, and do that background work. Read, study, do things that help you get out of your shell and do more. Now, for those who are interested in using workshops, seminars, and public speaking to further their business in 2018, and when I say ready, I mean, it may be scary, you may have done it before, you may be looking to do it now, for those of you who are, and who want to convert their workshops. So this means that you give great content, but you're also expecting something to come out of it, like a sale, right? So you're going to give your great content, and you're going to have a process in there so that someone can then pay you so that you can solve their biggest problem. If this is you and this is what you're ready for, I have an online, I call it a virtual workshop. I have an online webinar on Wednesday, January 3rd. It's at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, I think I have a link here because, yes, okay. In the comment section, okay, I've pasted a link, and this is for the event. So go look at it. And this specific webinar is going to help you craft your workshop. So to know from your general, and it's a live webinar. So this is the great part, right? Is that if you have questions of which you do, bring me your specific industries and let me help you live on that webinar. And also you'll get a recording of it. But this is a great time to come with your topic, your industry, where you are, and let me help you. So we're going to craft your workshop piece. So we're going to craft what your topic is going to be, and then how you're going to, I call it the 3 wow factors to convert. So this means that you're going to get your clients out of it, whether 1 or 2 people or 100 people show up. And also how you're just going to automate the system and repurpose your content so that it's not wasted. You see that? So this webinar, this virtual workshop is, what do we call it? Workshops that fully convert. So we want to make sure that it's not wasted effort. So we want to use workshops, you want to use seminars, and you want to use public speaking in 2018. The first thing we're going to focus on is the workshops. And I'll show you how you can use your recorded workshop to then give you access to the kind of stages that you want. And so and also how to do this very inexpensively, so that literally all you need is just we'll go into all that. So if this is something that you're interested in, it's virtual. So this means you can be anywhere in the world. You just need an internet connection. And if you're not available at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, then just go ahead and register and watch it when you can. Just let's not exist in an excuse zone. Remember, again, all the thoughts and all the feelings and all the things that come up to you that sound logical, that make sense, and have been confirmed by your experiences, those are all fears. And what do we do with fears? We let them rise up, we look at them, and we let them go. You may need to do that several times. For a lot of people, they want to do great things in 2018, but they're still stuck in that sense of fear, in the sense of not wanting to rock the boat, not wanting to fail, not wanting to make the wrong moves. Just scrap all that. I mean, how did you survive up until now? It wasn't by playing it safe. I mean, yeah, you can consider playing it safe, but really it wasn't. There was nothing that was guaranteed about your life up until now, but you're still here. So if you're willing to take a little leap of faith and trust that if you try this out and try some things out, that it may work for you. So this is what I did. So 3.5 years ago, I knew nobody, I knew nothing. I needed to go out, I needed to make a dent, I needed to let people know what I was about. And what did I do? I started with my webinars. And I'll tell you my very first webinar who showed up. My mother and a stranger. And I wanted to die because I didn't even want to go through with it. I wanted to just shut it off and just go hide, but I went through with it. And then to make sure that that experience, that negative experience, which in my world was negative, was not cemented and rooted in me, I quickly scheduled the next one and the next one. And for those ones, I did them live. And that's what I did. And after 3 or 4 of those back to back, just showing up, you know, the next one had 4 people, I believe, or 5 people, one of whom I think had come from like a night shift, was just plain bored. He just slept the whole way through. I quickly found myself getting more and more people showing up, more and more people being referred, more and more guests coming, and the rest is history, right? So again, it's that I mentioned persistence and consistency. Right? Those are going to be your best friends. Don't look so much at your results and judge everything by that. Look at your efforts and what you're willing to do in there. You have to remember that in this day and age, we have a lot of people offering many different things, and that some of the best ways to see if something is real is to just watch it for a while. I mean, you could be giving up right at the point where someone has decided that they're ready to work with you. Imagine that. You do all that and you say, oh, I didn't see any results from giving up. And then right at that moment, someone was like, you know what? I found someone that I can trust to take me to the next level, and here I am. So whatever your industry is, whatever your job is, if this is your passion, you really love what you do, or you love what you want to get into, and you want to make it work, please consider the workshops, the seminars, and the public speaking. If you're ready for the next step, head on over to that link that's on the comment bar and get yourself registered for the online webinar on January 3rd at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do that. In the meantime, you can email me if you have any questions. I'm just going to put my email address here. Email me if you have any questions or what your specific specific challenges you're facing or stuff like that. I take advantage of such requests. When I'm listening to people that mentors or coaches or people that I look up to in different fields, and they say, oh, email me, talk to me. Oh, I do. I take them my most immediate request and I take them up on it. If you want to grow, you're not going to grow alone. So just take all the help you can get. So again, I hope I'll see you next week, January 3rd, Wednesday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And thank you so much for giving me your time. Share this with anyone that you know who could really use this information and this help. I wish you all the best in 2018, and I'll tell you why. When you do what you're supposed to be doing, you benefit the people in your life, including yourself, and you also benefit society as a whole. It would be such a shame for us not to experience what you have to offer because you let a fear stand in your way, or because you let lack of information and ignorance stop you from doing something that in your heart, you know that if you just applied yourself, if you got information and applied yourself, that you would make it work. I want the best for you in 2018. I don't know what 2017 brought for you. I don't know what it's left in you, but I hope that you can find that hope and that encouragement within to just give it another try and give it another go, and just go about your business and do what you need to do, okay? We're all in this together. You're not alone. I'm Juliakatsivo, and have a happy new year. and instead of a prosperous 2018, I want to say, my conference in 2017 was bold action. In 2018, it's going to be results 2018. So I want for you in 2018, your heartfelt desire, the one that is only known by you, only felt by you. I want you to see in real time that desire come true, okay? Okay, take care and have a great rest of the day.